Denver is reducing the number of shelter beds for migrants. Same week it swept a homeless camp made up of migrants. The Colorado Republican Party lurches deeper into extremism. An event tonight with a white nationalist. 16,000 Colorado businesses are registered to one address, which is a surprise to the people who live there. It's an old-fashioned gas war in the suburbs.
We're right down the street. It's 289. So another 40 cents to drive a little while. Can't beat it.
Steve Stager looks at how gas stations can make the economics work. And our good news this week is life-changing.
Me and my wife are probably the oldest couple here adopting.
Let's watch a family become whole tonight on Next. Denver is closing another migrant shelter, same week that it swept a homeless encampment of migrants living on the streets because they ran out of allotted days in shelters. In October, Denver was running 6 migrant shelters to accommodate hundreds of new arrivals per day. At its peak, the city was sheltering more than 3,000 migrants. Now, arrivals have slowed back down to about 100 a day. On Monday, the city will shut down its second hotel shelter closed in recent weeks. Spokesman for the city's migrant shelters told us the people remaining there will be given a spot in another shelter and that the city can reopen shelters if needed. Mayor Mike Johnson just got back from a trip to the White House to ask the Biden administration for more help with the migrant crisis. The city says that it does not currently have plans to let people stay in the shelters for any longer period of time, even if arrivals drop off. Right now, individuals are limited to 14 days, and families can stay in the shelter with kids for up to 37 days. A verdict for one of the officers facing charges in the death of Elijah McClain will have to wait until next week. Nathan Woodyard was the first officer to stop McClain that night back in August 2019. A 911 caller had said he was wearing a mask, appeared sketchy. McClain had done nothing wrong. But officers threw McClain to the ground, held him there. Paramedics injected him with ketamine. Today, the prosecution and defense gave their closing arguments. Prosecutors say Woodyard put McClain in a carotid hold, and that triggered a series of medical issues. They also say that Woodyard kept escalating the situation. Woodyard's team blames the paramedics for Elijah McClain's death. Jury will pick deliberations back up on Monday morning. The Republican state representative who said that Jewish people under attack in Israel need to find Jesus has now turned his keen ability to offend on Palestinians, saying there is no such thing as the Palestinian people, they're just terrorists. Representative Scott Bottoms is also a pastor in Colorado Springs. He regularly speaks in church about the war between Israel and Hamas. First, Representative Bottoms said that Jewish people held hostage by Hamas need to turn to Jesus. He suggested that the Israeli and U.S. governments knew in advance about the Hamas attacks. And now, Representative Bottoms is saying that the Palestinian people don't exist, they're just a group of terrorists.
Did you know that there is no such thing as the Palestinian people? That's not a thing. That's a made-up thing. It was a terrorist organization that has just been sitting there for so long now that they have squatters' rights, and now the whole world, under the influence of Satan, the whole world is calling this the Palestinian people.
Democratic State House Speaker Julie McCluskey reprimanded Bottoms this week, called his comments about both Jews and Palestinians deeply offensive. Speaker McCluskey said they are part of a pattern of Bottoms' quote, bigoted and dangerous comments. Should note, McCluskey and Democratic Majority Leader Monica Duran also publicly denounced comments made by Democratic State Representative Tim Hernandez last month. Hernandez liked a series of tweets that appeared to mock the initial Hamas attack on Israel. Hernandez has since publicly apologized. Would you believe the center of business creation in Colorado is a house in North Glen? Nearly 16,000 businesses are registered to the same home address. Our Cole Sullivan learned the people who lived there had no idea and nothing to do with it.
This keeps happening to the young family living in this townhome in North Glen. At this point, they say everyone's knocked on their door. The Department of Justice, the FBI, and just the other day, the Secret Service. All with questions about businesses they know nothing about.
So it's $1 to start a business.
The state says it started last year when Colorado temporarily lowered the cost to start a business to $1. A policy Democratic Governor Jared Polis said quickly worked.
And really what we're celebrating is in the month of July alone, over 10,000 new businesses were formed in Colorado.
But now, the state says nearly 16,000 of the businesses formed while the fees were cheap were registered here, some mere minutes apart, All fraudulent filings, all from a foreign IP address, all to the same house in North Glen, and all by one unmatched business creator, Marcio Garcia Andrade. The state's now suing him and his business, Jumpstart Incorporations Incorporated. Colorado's beef is that the fraudulent filings deprived legit businesses from getting the discount. Of the $8 million Colorado allocated for the program, the state says Andrade used $750,000. It says one of Andrade's companies sells shelf corporations, which give buyers a clean, established business so they can get better rates on loans. The state calls Andrade a self-styled serial entrepreneur. A blog post from one of his companies says he has employees around the world who consider him a, quote, father figure, stern but fair. It also says his favorite color is red. The family that lives at the center of his business empire didn't want to go on camera. They've been through enough. With a mailbox full of junk mail to businesses at their place, and law enforcement coming to the door asking about a man they've never heard of.
Looking for a Marcio Andrade.
Hold on, I'll be down there right now.
We tried to get in touch with Andrade today. No answer at several of his company's numbers. His Denver-based lawyer's office says his actual lawyer lives in Jerusalem. And by the time we called this morning, it was already the Sabbath there. We'll let you know if we hear back sometime after sundown tomorrow, Israel time. Kyle.
International men of mystery. These poor people in the house who have nothing to do with this.
They say this has happened since they moved in. They say their landlord has no idea what's going on either. The state backs that up. They've had to sign waivers saying they didn't start any of these businesses. They say at this point it's just more annoying than anything else.
Yeah, and unsettling if you got cops showing up at your house all time of day and night. All right, really interesting. Cole, thank you. Testimony wrapped up today. In the trial, they'll decide if former President Trump can appear on Colorado's primary ballot. We expect a judge to make a decision later this month. 6 voters are suing to keep Trump off the ballot, claiming he's not eligible under this obscure constitutional provision because they say he incited the January 6th insurrection. Today, defense attorneys presented testimony from a legal scholar who said this is really something for Congress to decide, not a judge. The court also heard from the lead investigator for the House Select Committee's investigation into the January 6th attack. Defense attorneys are saying that investigation was biased. The Colorado Republican Party is part of this court fight to keep Trump on the ballot, and the Republican Party is urging Republicans to tune in tonight for a discussion of that on a webcast. The party chairman, along with Laura Loomer, a white nationalist who has said that America was a white ethno-state now being destroyed by diversity. There's news today involving an attorney for the Colorado Republican Party, John Eastman, former CU visiting scholar who's a criminal co-defendant with Donald Trump in Georgia. Eastman's closer to losing his law license. A judge in California has now issued a preliminary finding against Eastman. So now state bar attorneys have to make the case as to what the punishment should be. They think it should be disbarment for Eastman's role in trying to overturn the 2020 election. Eastman has said, both in the state bar proceedings and related to the criminal charges out of Georgia, that he was just doing his job as Trump's attorney. Final decision on that could come later this month. So Halloween decorations are going to continue to come down this weekend as we turn our eyes ahead toward Thanksgiving. The people behind the big Thanksgiving meal giveaway that was started by Daddy Bruce Randolph in Denver decades ago, they're raising money right now to keep it going. Since Wednesday, your latest Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign has chipped in nearly $24,000 to support the Epworth Foundation. They're the ones keeping Daddy Bruce's legacy alive on Thanksgiving by feeding thousands of Coloradans in need. The huge community feast started back in the 60s by that restaurant owner who was famous for his generosity. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get the link to join me in donating. The money that we raise is going to help them offer more Thanksgiving meal baskets to more families in need.
I mean, if they're making money here, so the other companies should be able to swing that.
You don't see a good old gas station price war much anymore, but there's one on in the suburbs right now. And our favorite Friday tradition continues. We celebrate the best headlines in your life this week. It's not a gas price, no. It's about family. You probably do not associate Greenwood Village with anything cheap. But if you need to fill your gas tank, get on down to that fancy suburb south of Denver, because there's stations selling gas for $1 cheaper than the statewide average. Suburban Steve Steger got a lesson in the economics of gas stations today.
Ever since this quick trip opened on Arapahoe Road west of I-25, it has put on a show for drivers passing by because nearly daily this station drops the price of gas, then the others follow. Friday, the magic number was $2.40.
Why'd you come here?
because the price of gas was significantly cheaper here than anywhere else I've seen.
How can these gas stations sell gas $1 cheaper than the statewide average?
That's a very good question.
While other stations, like this one about 2 miles away, sell gas much higher.
I would say greed, personally. I mean, if they're making money here, so the other companies should be able to swing that.
Not quite.
The margins on gas itself are tiny. Generally, I think the margin is about 1.5% on fuel. Even though fuel is the number one thing that's sold at a gas station, it is not how gas station owners make their money.
Skylar McKinley with AAA says gas can actually be a loss leader for gas stations, a lure to get people inside to spend money.
They make their money off you coming inside, buying some Doritos, a Diet Coke, a roll or hot dog. That's where the money is to be made at gas stations.
He says new operators are often more willing to take a loss at the pump, so you check out their store.
About 44% of people who go to the gas station actually will go inside, and about a third of those folks will make a purchase.
And they lower prices to stand out against competitors. There are 4 stations in this mile strip of Arapahoe.
We're right down the street. It's 289. So another 40 cents to drive a little while. Can't beat it.
The Valero across the street from the Quick Trip appears to have already raised the white flag after weeks of keeping up. The manager there tells me his corporate owners aren't willing to take that big of a loss anymore. They'll wait it out because gas wars don't last forever.
It'll be sustained for a little bit, but eventually prices fall in line with the market. Nobody can afford to lose that much money on gas.
So the manager of that Valero across from the street from the Quick Trip says that since they've stopped keeping up with the Quick Trip in prices, they've noticed a 40% dip in sales. It was dead there.
Whoa.
So what should you do?
Yeah.
Shop smart. One of those times where there might be some fluctuations in the market. And remember that even if the gas is cheap somewhere, driving too far for a cheap price doesn't necessarily mean that you're saving money.
Yeah. And you were telling me that the gas stations even make bank if you don't go in. There's a little secret outside.
One of the biggest margins I learned today is the air machine. You know, where you go and you pay to put air in your tires?
Yeah.
I always do it wherever I get the oil change. They usually do the air for free. Sure. But if you're really desperately in need of air, that's something they make money on. Even if they rent those machines, the margins are still huge on them.
I would not have thought that.
Yeah.
You learn all kinds of things when Steve Stager comes back to Next.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for making a guest appearance, my friend.
A lot of Coloradans are still in the dark when it comes to daylight saving time, even more so since the governor signed a law indicating Colorado would be willing to make the switch to permanent daylight saving time. Tonight's next question is becoming an annual tradition. What are we going to do with the clocks in November?
What are we going to do with the clocks, Lauren Robinson? I'm tired. It's a Friday. Just tell me what I'm doing with my clock. I don't need to hear from the governor.
Set them back an hour.
Set it back. All right.
We're still doing it.
Still doing it.
And you know what? We already paid ahead of time. We paid last spring when we lost that hour of sleep. So you should want to set your clocks back an hour. But yes, that does mean that it'll get darker so much earlier in the evening. Sorry for that part. But hey, you get that extra hour of sleep, right? Today we were pretty warm. We're going to continue to stay warm and dry as we go through the next couple of days, through the weekend and into the start of next week. We made it to 69 degrees at DIA, though I do think places in downtown Denver made it into the low 70s. We saw those low 70s to the north and east. We even saw middle to upper 70s across the southeastern corner of the state. Colorado Springs and Lyman stayed around 68 degrees. The high country saw anywhere from 40s to low 60s, a wide flex there. And then we saw 64 out west in Grand Junction this afternoon. Of course, now we're going to start cooling down for the evening. We're at 56 at DIA. More cloud cover starting to push in as expected. We're going to be partly cloudy to mostly cloudy in some areas overnight. Winds now coming in from the east-southeast at around 10 miles per hour. But you can see that cloud cover and where most of the activity did lie earlier and over the last few days, we saw some precipitation move through just north of Colorado. It misses our state, but south of it is where we're getting all of these clouds to kind of move in and out. So outside of the partly cloudy skies tonight, we will see those lows stay pretty mild. Calm winds overnight. We're going to see those lows near 36 degrees. That's above average for this time of year. Also above average for this time of year, the highs over the next stretch of days. We're going to be in the upper 60s to even low 70s on Sunday. It's not going to feel like the beginning of November, but guess what? It is. So that means you're going to need to set those clocks back an hour before you go to bed Saturday night so you wake up Sunday on time for all of your very warm plans. Temperatures slowly start to dip as we make it through the middle of the week. Wednesday right now looking like the next day where we could see a system push in some very scattered showers and light snow flurries.
Good news for me is that she is going to be our daughter, not just our great grandbaby.
After 2 years and a day in court, a family celebrates new beginnings. We will end the week the way we always do, with good news that just can't help but make you smile. Today, dozens of kids in our community found their forever homes. There was one court proceeding after another. It was National Adoption Day. We met the Chavez family from Denver. They told us for them it is a bittersweet transition, but definitely good news.
Today, she asked me about it. Bumpo, what is adoption? I told her, well, that means social services or somebody that can't come in and take you away. Me and my wife are probably the oldest couple here adopting.
Good news for me is that she is going to be our daughter, not just our great grandbaby. That means a lot to me. It was bittersweet, unfortunately, but it means a lot to me.
Well, it's to be honest with you, her mother passed away, okay, due to the fentanyl, I'll be honest. And her dad got incarcerated. They left a beautiful girl behind.
I'm so scared. Don't be scared. The judge is nice. What if they said that I'm not gonna be your child? What if they said if I'm gonna be your child?
And you believe this is in her best interest?
Yes.
And is there anything you'd like to say?
Mm-hmm. She's in a house full of love, you know.
All right, well, let me make this official, okay? She is hereby adopted.
Amen. You're a camera.
Ouch. You're making me fall.
I'm so sorry, I just got excited.
I want a picture with you.
Nice to meet you.
Happy, very happy. It's going to be a long process, but it's going to be beautiful.
Look at Auntie. Look at Auntie.
It'll be beautiful.
Who's ready to go to Candyland?
All right.
Me.
So you're gonna have
Tita, you can come.
Okay, thanks.
Are you really gonna come?
What?
Are you really gonna come to Candyland with us?
I don't know where it is.
You're gonna have to follow us.
Okay.
Follow. Who's coming?
Oh, we got to take more pictures.
What a beautiful and special moment. God bless that family. Chavez family was one of 23 families that finalized 27 adoptions today in Denver Juvenile Court. We'll have your feedback next. Viewer named Gerald wrote in about the story about businesses using somebody's home address without their permission. He says the same thing is happening to him at a house that he owns out in Brush. He's been told it'll take 120 days to get his property address off somebody else's business. Gerald says a process change needs to be made. The business agent should have to prove that they have the right to use that address. You wrote into us about gas wars going on in Longmont and Elizabeth right now. Lori wrote, ain't competition great? And Holly says, I'm going to do my fist for this one. People of Colorado need to stop watching Kyle Clark. You can just go, Holly. It's cool if you just go, all right? Go and have a great weekend.